Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into Ryan Holiday's incredible book, Ego is the Enemy. We're going to uncover the single biggest thing that sabotages our success. And you might be surprised to find out it's not what you think.
Okay, let's just kick things off with this idea, because it's a big one. Think about it. The biggest obstacle standing in your way. It's not your boss, not the economy, not bad luck. Nope. Holiday argues that your worst enemy lives inside you. It's a part of you.
And look, the author, Ryan Holiday, he knows this from personal experience. I mean, the guy had this insane highlight reel by his mid-20s. He was the youngest executive at a talent agency, marketing director for a huge global brand, a best-selling author. He was the kid wonder, the one everyone thought was going straight to the top. But here's the thing about highlight reels. They're kind of a lie, right? They're never the full story. What they don't show you are those stomach-turning drops, the public flameouts, the crippling anxiety, and that shocking moment when he realized the mentors he looked up to, the companies he worked for, were basically imploding right in front of him. And it was that total collapse that forced him to face the real enemy.
All right, so to really unpack all this, here's what we're going to cover. First, what is this enemy? Then, where does it pop up? After that, we'll get into how to stay humble when you're starting out, and we'll wrap up with a huge choice that every ambitious person has to make.
Okay, first up, you can't fight an enemy you can't see, right? So let's start by getting a really clear definition of what we're actually up against here. Now, when Holiday talks about ego, he's not talking about something from a psychology textbook. His definition is much more practical. It's that little kid inside all of us that's just screaming for attention, needing to be better, needing to be recognized for everything, way past the point of it being helpful. And this is such a crucial distinction he makes, the difference between ego and confidence. See, ego is all smoke and mirrors. It's stolen, it's fake, it's something you just declare you have. But real confidence, that's totally different. That's earned. It comes from putting in the work. It's based in reality, what he calls rock-hard humility. One is poison, the other is power. So where does this thing actually show up and attack? Is this just a problem for CEOs and rock stars? Not even close. Holiday says ego is basically always lurking, ready to trip us up at 3 key stages of any journey. First, when we're aspiring, just starting out. It tells us we're a secret genius before you've done anything. Then, when we succeed, it puffs us up, makes us think we're untouchable, which is a perfect setup for a big fall. And finally, when we fail, ego is what twists the knife. It tells us we're a total loser, which stops us from actually learning anything and getting back in the game. It's the same enemy, just wearing a different costume. Now for this breakdown, we're really going to zero in on that first stage, aspiration. Why is that? Well, because that's where you have the most leverage. It's like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, If you can build the right habits, humility, realism, right from the start, you're basically building an immune system against ego for later on. So, how do we actually do this? How do we fight back when we're just getting started? Let's get into 2 really powerful strategies. First up, this quote from Lao Tzu says it all. The strategy here is simple, but man, is it hard to do. Just shut up and work. Holiday points out that talking about our big plans feels good. It gives our brain a little hit of dopamine, like we've already accomplished something. But that feeling actually drains the energy we need to, actually do the thing. Okay, the second strategy, always be a student. And the story of Kirk Hammett from Metallica is just a perfect example. I mean, think about it. He's 20 years old. He joins a band that's about to become one of the biggest on the planet. He's landed his dream job. You'd think he'd made it, right? Time to coast. Nope, not even close. Instead of letting his ego tell him he was a rock god, what was his first move? He found a teacher, and a notoriously demanding one, Joe Satriani. So while Metallica is taking over the world, Kirk is showing up to lessons, ready to be humbled, ready to be told he wasn't good enough. Because he knew he wasn't a finished product. He had so much more to learn. And that brings us to this point from the philosopher Epictetus. I mean, that's it right there. The second you think you've got it all figured out, you're done. Your growth just stops cold. Ego tells you you've arrived. Humility knows you're always on the journey. And all this stuff, this humility, this constant learning, it all leads to this massive fundamental choice. It's a choice that every single ambitious person has to make, whether they know it or not. There was this legendary military strategist, Colonel John Boyd, and whenever he mentored a promising young person, he'd sit them down and ask them this question. He'd say, One day, you're going to come to a fork in the road, and you have to decide, are you going to be somebody or are you going to do something?
And this really breaks down what he meant. The to be somebody path, that's all about appearances. It's about getting the promotion, the fancy title, being part of the club. It's all about chasing status. But the to do something path, that's about purpose. It's focusing on the work itself, on making a real impact, on being part of something bigger than you are.
So here's the bottom line. Humility isn't about being weak or passive. It's the complete opposite. It's a rock-solid foundation for real, lasting achievement. When you choose to do instead of to be, you're choosing substance over style. You're choosing humility over ego. And you're building something that can actually last.
And we'll just leave you with this final thought from the artist Marina Abramovich. It's so powerful, it's a perfect reminder that this whole battle against ego, it's not just about dodging failure. It's about protecting the very thing that allows you to create anything meaningful in the first place. What's at stake? Literally everything.